Want award-winning service with your mobile plan? Mate! Get unlimited talk and text plus data banking up to 200 gigabytes from only $25 per month, plus free Tidal music subscription included. Choose a provider you trust like a mate. Visit letsbemates.com.au.
Sports Day for Kia, the Kia Sorrento, Drive Car of the Year, and Lumo SA. Aussie owned, made for Adelaide.
Yeah, good evening, Malcolm Blight and David Wildy. Thanks to Polaris, Australia's #1 off-road vehicle brand. Get the range of confidence for the price of a quad. Visit your local Polaris dealer today. So welcome, Malcolm Blight. Plenty more Olympics. Some of the athletes haven't behaved on the plane coming home. Bit of drama surrounding Tex Walk. We're not sure about the allegations, but there are allegations that a racial slur was involved. That will unfold, no doubt, in the ensuing days. But anyhow, more importantly, how was your day?
David, it was good until this afternoon, and we've got a little putt-putt course here, and all those that know that all the kids and everyone's had to go putt-putt somewhere in their life, and I thought your putting was outstanding tonight. Sam, our producer, probably got 2 votes, and sadly I got on the podium, but I reckon I was third. It
means a lot to me to get a bit of gratitude from you. I don't often get it, but thank you for that. I'll walk a little bit taller. Where do we start? The Olympics. I did watch the high jump. I mean, some things that jumped out of the TV, they were fantastic events, and the Swedish high jumper, he didn't have a miss until he went to beat his own world record, and every time someone got higher, he was up to the challenge. I thought that was riveting. The American pushed him, but you saw that picture when he went over, I think it's 6:02, he's about a foot.
It's amazing.
His body was actually a foot over the bar.
That'd all been photo of the year, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the athletics last night with Tamsin and Bruce, that 17-year-old kid from America doing some exceptional things.
Now, I listened to, because I was driving around for a while today, and then I watched the Opals.
Disappointing.
Sadly, yeah. But apparently the American team, I was listening to Chris Anstey comment that, obviously been there, done that, a great player, talked about they'd won 50 in a row, the American
52,
girls.
52, I think.
Oh, wow. How could you?
But a lot of the Australian girls have played in the NBA women's too, so that they've had, they're ranked number 2.
Now,
to get a medal, they'd be very disappointed.
Yeah, I just thought, I don't know the game as well as you and a lot of others, but I just thought their shooting was off. That lots of times you had some shots and they just... Anyhow, I tell you what I did watch for a little while and then saw the aftermath after. Australia got a gold in the 470, I think it called dinghy class. Anyhow, the boys only had to go round and not get disqualified. Just front it up. Anyhow, they decided they'd be slow off the mark. I love this story. And then they thought the best spot to be and not to get in the trouble.
Was that the back, was it?
No, was in front.
Oh.
So they've absolutely smashed them. I think one has won it before, and I forget the other guy, but Belcher was one. And then after
Jeff Belcher,
So I was sitting there watching, and after the race, the Spanish was second or third, and the Swedes were second or third. Well, anyhow, so they got up to shake hands with the Spanish guys in these little dinghy things, and the Australian guys pulled them both in. They both went in the water. It was quite funny, actually, and they congratulated each other. So there was the camaraderie after was I've never seen anything like it. It was enormous.
I've seen that a lot in the Olympics this year. It's been fantastic. The only way they could lose that race was if they impeded or
did something wrong. So they decided to get in front.
So they started down back, did they?
They started back and then just took it off and said, no, we may as well get in front.
Gee, they've done what we do so well in sailing, don't we?
Yeah, they smashed them.
And the canoes it's been fabulous. Taylor Walker, we'll just touch on this. It'll be in the papers. We don't know the full ramifications of what happened or what he said or whatever, but the story's broken. Apparently AFL are investigating it. Are you just on the camp, let's wait and see what happened?
Absolutely. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Just talking on footy, I guess the Olympics are really on everyone's lips. We do have a showdown this week, don't we? It's on the back burner a bit. We understand that. We're talking to
Sauce Jacobs,
a 3-time winner of the showdown medal a bit later on, so we'll bring that up again. I've got to mention someone today, though. We've got Way Back Wednesday a little bit on, but we do have a birthday today, and one of my favourite players.
What day are we today?
4th of August.
Mark Bickley?
No.
Andrew McLeod.
Correct.
Yeah, Bickley, McLeod and Tyson Edwards, I think, were all within 2 days of each other.
Yeah, great player.
2 on the same day. I reckon Tyson and Andrew might be on the same day. I'll get you to check that up, Sammy.
I just thought, I didn't think of Tyson, but anyhow, I know Andrew's birthday today. So
how old?
45. Goes quick,
Wow.
doesn't it?
He still looks great.
Yeah,
too.
he's in really good nick, isn't he? What a player he was.
Yeah.
Anyhow, hey, listen, we've got a poll, and our daily poll is we play for Keno from only $1 a game. Gamble responsibly. I love playing Keno. We talked about this, haven't we? With a draw every few minutes, David. You just put $1 in. You can do system 8, 9, 10. You can go for 3 numbers, 4 numbers. Anyhow, there's always time for a spot of Keno. Play today, gamble responsibly. And our poll, who wins tomorrow's semi-final in the basketball, Australia or the USA? Now, this has been up for a little while, and Australia at the moment has 58%, USA 42%. They are really hard.
I'm in the other camp at the moment.
What you do is you have your fingers and toes crossed, don't you, for the Australian boys to actually get up. Anyhow,
it is Bix's birthday today. Yeah, Mark Bickley and McLeod, I reckon, on the same day.
Oh,
I knew two of them were. And I reckon Tyson might be on the 6th of August.
Wow,
so.
geez, Mark, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, but he'll be spewing.
Look,
one of your favourites.
Well, both are. I mean,
Mark
they're all
Bickley, he'll be listening. Your long-term listener.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mark.
First-time caller.
You probably didn't hear me at the start of the show. You've obviously just heard it now.
But that's not like you. You put Andrew McLeod in preference to Mark Bickley.
No, I didn't put anyone in
didn't
preference.
you do your due diligence on other
about as much due diligence as what you've done.
I picked it up straight away. I picked it up as soon as you said it.
Yeah, but hang on. I got way back Wednesday, and I found a birthday, and I don't want to overimpose on a lot of things. Like, let's not go there. We'll do that a bit later. But I tell you what's a very interesting one.
Both very good players, both Hall of Famers.
Absolutely.
The local footy, good to see 50% capacity.
Yeah, 3,000 to 4,000 people at Sandful. So if you...
They need that.
Yeah, that is very true. Go and support the locals this weekend. It'll be great.
15,000 for the showdown. Could they have gone a bit higher?
Yeah. I've got into a few debates on this, and I'm not sure that I've won any of them. Because...
Well, we don't really know definitively.
No, that's right, yeah. It seems that we can all walk around, but anyhow, who knows? I'm going to play devil's advocate and say I know nothing.
What's your thoughts on AFLW? And some people saying there aren't enough women coaching. Now we've seen Beck Otto coach a premiership.
Yeah,
I see former netball guru Lisa Alexander said she would be confident she could lead Collingwood if she got the job at Collingwood. There's a lot of basketball, a lot of similarities between a lot of sports and that.
Yeah.
Never played the game, but she's obviously a good coach in her own right. Nick D'Alessando's just got the St Kilda job.
Yep.
So it's, what is it? I don't know how many teams in the AFLW, but there's only one woman coach at the moment.
None at the moment.
Now, why is that? When Beck Goddard showed she could coach, got a premiership.
Yeah, can I also say that on the board of those AFLW teams are a lot of women.
Who make the decision?
Yeah, I don't know how many, but I know some are there. So, I mean, it's about the best persons for the job. I think in time, this is my opinion, in time, just saying Erin Phillips come 3, 4 or 5 years' time, and she's coached the local team. She might have coached a junior team somewhere, and all of a sudden she does a Sandful team. And then I could see that natural progression, David. I could see it happening somewhere down the track, if not next year, the year after, the year after.
I can see them coaching AFLW, but there's no way in the world, if there's 100 footballers going for the job at Collingwood, there's no way in the world that Lisa Alexander would be even considered.
Probably not
even
now.
Considered.
No, not now. But put another 10 or 15 years of experience onto a female coach. Who knows? Did you ever think we'd have a female prime minister when you were growing up?
Never really thought about it. Don't rate the female or the men there.
Can I just say,
or an astronaut
I don't know why
I
I asked that, because when I was 12, I didn't think about much else either.
Well, there weren't many women in politics. Now they're trying to get equal people even the police force, the fire brigade, they're trying to get more women engaged. So,
yeah, just talking on that, we might in the next few days they're going to announce some more teams to play, which Port Adelaide will get in, won't they? In the AFLW,
there's a few that have applied.
Yep.
But yeah, look, I would really like to see a few more women in charge. I'm sure they can do the job. Most of those would have played as well, so they've had brought up on football, and I don't see it as just being a male domain there. A lot of women are now coming into football commentary. I reckon at the start it was just to put a female face in there, but some have done really well.
Yeah, I did the first game ever with Kelly Underwood.
Yeah, she's
at
still
the MCG.
calling.
Yeah. Hey, can I just say also about teams coming in? There is ongoing talk. I mentioned the Tasmanian team.
Yep.
And Colin Carter, who's doing a paper on it, former president of Geelong, and also member.
I'm all for Tassie team.
Yeah, so am I. So there's lots of discussions going on now, and I think meetings are happening over the next few days with the Tasmanian people, and then it'll get to AFL Commission. I've got no doubt. I had a conversation with Colin Carter about my thoughts on it, and he's spoken to probably 50 people, I'd reckon, probably even more, and he would have a really, really good handle on what he thinks is right. I think that the Tassie team will come in, and as I've said before, I don't think it'll matter there's 19 teams. It doesn't matter one iota. The bye is an accepted part of our game now, and I, for one, would love to see the Apple Isle have their own team.
Oh, me too. I'd prefer them to the Gold Coast.
Oh, well,
I know logistically they've got the people there.
Exactly.
But to me, it's still not a football state.
Yeah,
and to be honest, Blighty, you've been their biggest supporter. They've let you down this year the way they played too. Now, their up and down performances. And who did we have on the other night? Dean Solomon said, who was a coach there for a while.
Yes, he was.
He said, you can't keep saying they've got kids. Some of these kids have been there 8 to 9 years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they have.
And I know they've lost a lot of players, but they have to pull their finger out and become a far better side. Because the money wasted there, and the AFL, to be honest, Blighty won't have that money to be just throwing willy-nilly to the Gold Coast down the track.
Well, you wouldn't believe this. Sam Fantasia, our producer, just handed me something. Listen to this. This is from Mitch Cleary reporting this.
Yep.
Brisbane champion and current Port Adelaide assistant Michael Voss has emerged on the radar of Gold Coast's potential candidate under Stuart Dew for 2022. They're looking to boost because Josh Franco's gone, as you well know. So isn't that an interesting one? I wonder why that would come up now when Michael Voss has got a fairly important role going forward with Port Adelaide as they head towards a final series.
No, hasn't he applied for the Collingwood job as well?
Well, I don't think there's an application. They ring you, David.
Oh, his name's been put out there with Collingwood. He's emerged on the radar as a potential coaching candidate under Stuart Dew.
Yeah.
Well, Stuart needs help. He needs some big help. It just doesn't look right. Gold Coast have, the old white flag, they've thrown it in a couple of times.
Don't forget, we spoke to Tony Cochran, 6-7 weeks ago, and they'd had 7 knee injuries, including Jared Witts. 7 knees is a lot, David. It's a hell of a lot.
Knees are. Port had 7 or 8 players out for weeks on time too. I mean, you can't use excuses all the time. What about all the other years?
No, they've had a heap of injury. They've been too young. They were built up early. I said that. They played.
I mean, I'm not sure they'll be any good next year. I'm not confident even with the kids they've got. Rankin just got dropped.
Yeah.
They got Lukosius. Matt Rowe's been hurt. Hasn't come back anywhere near what he was.
Noah Anderson's been okay at times, but Matt Rowe hasn't gone on. A couple of those kids. Well, they're still kids. That's why they need some more body. And what's his name? Greenwood's been out. I mean, there's been some big bodies out.
Hey, Paul Fakino, I can't believe this. Aussies 58. I hope it's right. 58% to beat the USA. Some of the names: Kevin Durant leading their attack. They're very good. Devin Booker's in there as well. Hey, the 7-seat Kia Sorento has just been crowned Drive Car of the Year. We are going to take a break. Source Jacobs, all going to speak once again to a reporter from the Tokyo News. News Corp. Yeah.
Gadiel.
From Tokyo.
Yeah, really interesting.
Gadiel.
Goes the basketball. Been at the boxing too, which
What's
I'm
his
really
second
interested.
name?
Gadiel, I've got it. Notelovitz.
Well done.
Notelovitz.
You can introduce him. We're going to take a break. Mark and Blind, David Wildy, Sports ASA.
Sports Day for Kia, the Kia Sorento, Drive Car of the Year, and Lumo SA. Aussie owned, made for Adelaide.
Yeah, Malcolm Blight and David Wildy, our poll thanks to Keno. Who wins tomorrow's semi-final? Australia 56%. Gee, we're confident. Bit cocky here in Aussie land. USA 44%. But our next guest will certainly give us a better idea whether that's a right or wrong. News Corp sports journalist Gadiel Notelovitz. Thanks to Lumo SA, which is green and gold, for energy that is 100% Aussie-owned. Switch to Lumo today. Hello, Gadiel. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on again.
Great to have you. Now, we've got a poll. I don't reckon that is right. I'd assume that the US odds-on favourite to beat Australia.
Yeah, look, I mean, realistically, the US have to be favourites when they go into any basketball game on talent alone. But, we've seen just enough from Australia and maybe just enough from the US to suggest that an upset could potentially be on the cards. The US lost their opening game of the group stage against France. Since then, they've obviously looked a little better. They've progressed with each game, and against Spain, they look, pretty scary. But at the same time, Australia against Argentina last night, they looked the best they have all tournament. So, you have to say the US are favourites, but, you can't rule out Australia either.
The Aussie women dominated in the pool. I thought they certainly took the chocolates over the men, but I reckon the men in the basketball so far have been way ahead of the Opals. You'd have to say the Opals, Gadiel, very disappointing. Lost a couple of games, had to just make the quarterfinals, and they just got in there and then got smashed today, which is no real surprise, but overall their tournament pretty poor.
Yeah, I think it was really disappointing. To be honest, they were quite lucky to make the quarterfinal stage. They finished obviously in third in their group behind Belgium and China. It's obviously not what the Opals expect to be. The preparation wasn't ideal with Liz Cambridge withdrawing on the eve of the games, and I think it was just a mountain too high for them to climb in terms of figuring out how to play. I mean, they've relied on Liz and her offense for so many years, and to only have 2 weeks to figure out how you're going to play without her, it's a bit difficult. And they admitted as much after the game. Basically said, as preparation goes, it wasn't it was obviously not ideal, and they weren't able to overcome it.
Gadiel, last time we spoke to you, you were at the boxing, and reading your article again in this morning in the Advertiser, Harry Gardside, the young Australian guy, is going to get the first medal in 33 years, bronze, silver or gold, all available. But I was fascinated that the scoring, how tight was the scoring on that? That a hair's bee's breadth, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's always tough in the Olympic boxing. There's obviously only 3 rounds. It's 3-minute rounds. So in 9 minutes, it all has to be decided, and there's 5 judges that decide it. And obviously, Harry, he got the split decision victory over a tough Kazakh opponent. Australia doesn't have the best history when it comes to boxing decisions at the Olympics. We're a pretty small boxing nation, and sometimes that doesn't help when the judges are making their decisions. Going into the third round, Harry was up 20-18 on 2 scorecards and down 20-18 on another 2. Ended up coming down to a Moroccan judge who had it 19-19 after 2 rounds, and he sided with Harry in the third. It was a really tight third. It could have gone either way. And I guess in a pleasant surprise, it went Australia's way this time.
Yeah, I know over the journey it hasn't gone a lot, but there was support in the crowd, though. The swim team and a lot of other people were in there, so there's a bit of noise around the ring.
Yeah, there is a bit of noise. I mean, obviously no fans, but different countries are allowed to bring some members of the team. And Harry Garside, I mean, he tells me that he doesn't like to spend too much time, among other athletes, giving off his energy. He likes to, during a tournament, stay in his room. But he's obviously done a fair bit in the small time he's hung with people, because he's a very popular athlete among the Australian team, and they were there to support him last night. Very loud, cheering for every punch that he landed. And obviously when he was declared the winner, there was a massive roar.
Now, Cuba, geez, haven't they had some great boxers? Andy Cruz, he's had 25 straight wins and 109 in his career so far. If he gets that far, and if they slip over, they're going to have to beat them. They've been massive, Cuba, in boxing, haven't they? Yeah,
Cuba's always a dominant nation at the Olympics in boxing, and that is Harry Garside's next opponent, Andy Cruz, who has looked pretty much close to flawless throughout the Tokyo campaign. He had a bye in the first round, but since then he's pulled off 2 straight wins, and he's looked really good doing it. Realistically, Harry's probably the underdog going into the fight against Cruz, but Harry's already dealt with a seeded opponent. He beat Namibia's Jonas in the round of 16 to book a spot in the quarterfinal. And, Andy Cruz is just another seeded opponent he's going to have to get past. But, speaking to Harry last night after the fight, while we might be celebrating the bronze medal, he's not just yet. He's got his eyes on a bigger prize, and that's the gold medal. At this stage, you can't back against him. You've got to back Harry that he can get the job done.
I guess his News Corp sports journalist, Gadiel Notelevitz. Gadiel, Blighty just mentioned he heard the swim team roar. We watch it every night. It's been fantastic, both during the day. Great timeline with Japan and Australia there. But at times it is so sad when you see the empty stadium with athletics and the boxing, just a handful of people there, the judges. I don't know if you've been to any live events or many. How have you seen it? Actually coming through the TV is fantastic, but you do feel for the athletes not having the crowd they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been at the boxing, at the basketball, I've been at the athletics recently, and watching guys, pull off world records and there's no, there's no ovation. It's a surreal experience to be involved. It almost takes a bit of time to realize when you are witnessing history. I was there when the US were upset by France, and really only when the buzzer went and there was one crazy French commentator in the press tribune did you realize what you just witnessed. You just watched the US lose at the Olympics, but that's a massive deal. And down at the track, there's been a couple times where, someone pulled off a world record. We were there for that crazy 400-meter hurdle race where two runners, were under world record time. And, you turn to each other in the press tribune and you go like, what did we just see? Because you don't hear the typical noise that comes with a moment like that. So, yeah, it has been really strange, and it must be, far weirder for the athletes who are used to a crowd. For us, it makes it a little bit easier because, we can transcribe in the arena all the quotes that we're getting. But, it is a very, very weird experience to cover an Olympics without any fans.
Now, day 12 today, are you going to, just on a personal note, are you going to stay there for the duration, like the 15 or 16 days, and then come home and I guess, isolate?
Yeah, pretty much. So, the game's wrapped up on the 8th. That's when the closing ceremony is. It's also when the gold medal game in the basketball is on. So hopefully I'll be working right up until the 8th, covering the Boomers. We're set to leave on the 10th, I believe. And then I'll be heading home and doing 2 weeks of hard quarantine before I'm allowed out to see friends and family and the missus.
Great stuff. Thanks once again to Gadiel Notelovich. You can read Gadiel's work at tokyonews.com.au. The other performance as we go to the break, I think it was Sydney McLaughlin in the women's 400. 3 of them broke a world record. She broke her own world record and went under, let's say it's 47 for the first time. It's just brilliant. I mean, some of the records are amazing.
I've read where the track may be helping,
Bit
and
faster?
also carbon shoes. I saw that. I read about shoes. So
the Nike shoes, was it?
Well, I don't know. I must say I didn't know this brand. I noticed several.
But the times have been amazing.
Yeah, a lot of them have. And, so maybe the track, maybe the shoes, or maybe COVID's been good for everyone. They've really focused on the job.
Or maybe just a wonderful performance. Exactly.
Maybe that's right.
We are going to take a break. Source Jacob's not far to come. And also, Way Back Wednesday.
Sports Day for Kia, the Kia Sorrento, Drive Car of the Year, and Lumo SA. Aussie owned, made for Adelaide.
Yeah, program for Weeks Homes. Discover a better way to build. Weeks Homes, discover different. Let's take a quick call from Greg, then we'll whip into Way Back Wednesday. Hello, Greg.
Hey guys, how you going?
Good.
I've heard all this thing with Sam McClure and everything tonight, and if he has breached the AFL protocol rules, why wouldn't they be able to say he's brought the game into disrepute and withdraw his media accreditation for, say, they say you've got a 12-month ban, you're no longer allowed to attend any AFL game in an official function, you're no longer allowed to talk to anybody in this, because they would have the ability under their code of conduct to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, Greg, if he has, no doubt, but we don't know that for sure. It's been very sketchy, all the words and the whispers coming out. I'm sure we'll find out more in the next week or so. It might be a storm in a teacup and Taylor Walker's done nothing. But Sam McClure's they call him Scoop. I think he'd be bloody, he'd know what he can say and what he can't under the AFL rules.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting, isn't it, when he said, they said, and this is what we think said. And it's going to take that. The AFL will do the investigation. They won't hide anything. No. It's not in their interest to do that. And
I've seen the AFL take away people's accreditation for passing passes through gates and things like that.
Absolutely.
So if he's done the wrong thing, that will come out in the wash.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's not throw an arrow at him as well.
No.
Way Back Wednesday for Lumo SA, Aussie owned, with energy plans and great local rewards made for Adelaide.
And here we go, David. In 1934, the Second British Empire Games opened in London at White City Stadium. What did the British Empire Games become later on?
Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
Imagine.
When did that happen?
In the 50s?
No,
60s?
1978. Had a few incarnations.
90 what?
78. It was a really good year, 78, apparently.
Yeah.
If anyone looked at any sort of book
Well,
called...
who won the Brownlow?
David, thank you for bringing that up. In 1936, talking about winners, Jesse Owens won his second gold long jump. And in 1945, Byron Nelson, the great, won the Canadian Open, his 11th consecutive PGA victory, and he won 18 for the year.
Love to see a lot more footage of some of those old players.
It's
Sam
beautiful
Snead,
swing.
Byron Nelson.
Beautiful swing.
Who's it? Bobby Jones was
Yeah,
the
Bobby
early one.
Jones too. And in 1948, David, Hungary's Olga Giamatti wins the first ever women's long jump gold.
Olga Giamatti. You
gee,
said that almost like it should be Italian, but I don't think it
But
is.
Hungary's not far from Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your Hungary accent?
And in 1948, it's not about the Invincibles and Don Bradman, this one. The woman's shot put was intro. I watched that for a while today. That was the blokes I watched. Nikolai, nearly close. Nikolai Ostermeyer of France. Michelin Ostermeyer of France won the gold.
Yeah, don't do it twice.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say something here too, and I meant to say something to Sam. I haven't done a music one for a while, but in 1956, the great one released Hound Dog.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah, there you go.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog. And in 1984, in 1984, the great Carl Lewis won the 100 metres in LA. How many gold medals did he end up winning in his career?
He won the 100 and 200, the long jump 3 time. I would say 7?
9. Pretty good.
9.
Yeah, not a bad one. And the last one, the greatest of all time Olympian. That is, in medals won and gold medals. Who was it?
Not Michael Phelps.
Yes. He won the 4x100 metre relay in London on this day. It was his, how many gold?
11th.
18th. 18th, can you believe? And 28 in all.
We got to take a break. I don't know why you're dressed up. You're dressed up beautifully today. Malcolm Blight and David Wildy coming up shortly. Sammy Jacobs from the Adelaide Crows.
Sports Day for Kia, the Kia Sorrento, Drive Car of the Year, and Lumo SA. Aussie owned, made for Adelaide.
A Sports Day SA, Malcolm Blight and David Wildy for Weeks. They don't replicate. They create homes that transform lives. Weeks Homes discover different. And also Tyre Patchy. They've been a sponsor for a long while for us.
Great.
The trusted tyre experts. They reward you more. Great deals, brands you can trust. Store-wide sale on now. Well, showdown. It's another showdown this week. Slightly different. The COVID, the crowds, all the thing, even ladder position. But a man that always played well in a showdown. I only gave him 2 showdown medals. You gave him 3, and I think you're right.
Yep, 2, 12, 14 and 17.
Well, it's a big ruckman. I reckon he could still be playing now in Sammy Jacobs. Sam, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Will. And Blighty, how you guys going?
Mate, we're going well. I ripped you off one there. I knew you won at least 2. But what does the showdown mean to you? Because we're just talking before you came on. Maybe it doesn't quite have the same impact for a number of reasons. You know, the COVID, the crowds, ladder positions, all that type of thing.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was always an opportunity. I always viewed the showdowns as 2 opportunities throughout the year to I guess, test yourself in the finals footy atmosphere. Because, like you said, it starts from Monday when you start doing all the media around the showdown and what it means to South Australians and all that sort of stuff. So I just love the build up, and as a footy player, I think you always wanted to be known as a big time player. And I guess the showdowns are opportunities twice a year to be able to put yourself on show.
There's no doubt about that, Sam. I think that, COVID, we're now going to get 15,000 people. There's lots of things going on in the world that, they've got no control of. And I reckon everyone just takes a step back. And of course, the other thing that stopped is throwing punches on the footy ground too. From those early days, even the first 6 that I was involved on, there was a fair bit of niggle. And that's sort of been taken out the game a little bit. So there's a lot of factors that it's still a great game and someone wants to win it and you want to win it. But there is a bit of difference.
Yeah, there is, and it has changed over time. Like you said, just the game naturally has been tidied up in terms of all that, I guess, that physical side of it. And there's a lot more scrutiny as well now because obviously social media plays a bigger part than what it did in the 90s, late 90s when the showdown started. But especially at the moment, like it is hard because we love to see nothing more than 50,000 Crows or Port fans cheering on their team at showdowns. But I think we've got 15,000 this weekend, so. Going to be a challenge for the players to manufacture their own atmosphere at times, and hopefully we can start well and get our fans that are at the game involved as well.
Yeah, just going back to you personally now, you've rejoined the Crows and you've got a terrific role. Now, I just want to make people understand this. The club has a CEO, we know who that is, and a boss. It also has a COO, a Chief Operating Officer, and generally, most people don't know that they have a CEE. A CEE is the club engagement executive, and that's Sam Jacobs. So congratulations on joining the C Club within the Crows Club, Sam.
I actually like that, Blighty. The one I run with is I like being called an executive. So I always joke to my mate, Reece Humphrey, who I work close with. He's a coordinator of communications, and I tell him he's the equivalent of a school teacher that's patrolling the schoolyard, just a coordinator. So it is nice to have the title, but with that, I've got to back it up. So I'm absolutely loving my role. As I said to you guys before, I'm a people person and I love the Crows. So for me to be able to come back after footy, and I've had my time as a player, but to come back now and to give back to the club and try and reconnect and help improve that connection as well, especially post-COVID, is something I'm really passionate about.
So can you take that with you now? When you actually talk about Sam Jacobs in your role, you're the CEE, all right? I want you to... And remember where you first heard it, because I thought it was something that should go with you always. Now, what also is going to go with you is your knowledge of the ruck. Now, we're interested in Riley O'Brien, Crows player, good best and fairest winner last year. Not as good a year this year. I mean, you watch him pretty closely. Who do you think should be supporting him as a second ruckman? Someone at the back, someone at the front, or get a kid in there and get the next tall?
Yeah, I think where the game's going is, through my time, I think there was a big role for that ruckman to come in and play 90% in the ruck and just play the one position. But I think the demands of the role has changed. And I think you need more of a chop out. Like, I look at the Melbourne setup and Collingwood setup, who they've got Max Gawn and Brodie Grundy, who now have really capable backups in Darcy Cameron at Collingwood and Luke Jackson at Melbourne.
Yep.
So they actually enable Grundy and Gawn to go forward. And even you look at Nat Nui, he's always had an offsider as well. So I think it's important that, whether it's Elliot Himmelberg or Riley Philthorpe, I think it's really important that, we give Riley time to be able to play, might be 70%, say, than 85, 90%, because the demands and the speed of the game is really increasing. And you can see Riley's, he hasn't had the year he had last year, but he's still playing some really strong footy. But, it's a big ask for him to do it year on year as well.
Stood next to Scotty Lysett recently. He's a massive man. Sam, where do you rate his biggest strength? Because there's such a better side with him than without him, Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I think I'd be selling him short if I just said he was, a really competitive player that we're going to get. He's obviously more than that, but I think that's the basis of his game, is his ability to be able to just compete and be that extra body on the ground. So he's another guy who's taken his possession count from, 10 to 12 up to sort of that 16 range, and that's just come by him, impacting more at ground level. And the thing I like about Scotty is, whether it's right or wrong, he does push the boundaries in terms of the physical side of the game, but sometimes he does tip over, but as a ruckman, you don't mind that either. So he's playing some good footy, and I reckon even, him with Laddams is now his understudy, and I think he seems to play better footy when he's got Laddams in the side as well.
Obviously, you watch the Crows pretty closely. It's a young team. We know all that. They're going to struggle for a while. We know that. So the youngies, who's actually impressed you from your football eyes? Who's impressed you? One or two of the Crows kids you can see that next step, another pre-season under their belt, and can make a big step next year?
I think the one that's probably standing out to me at the moment, and probably the kid who has been able to deal with AFL footy week in, week out, is Harry Schonberg. I think he's sort of starting to forge his own little niche in that midfield, and I think I've really enjoyed what the coaches are doing with him. They've sent him to other players at times to teach him how to play the midfield role, and I think that's really important, is to actually learn more about the role rather than just going and just playing mid, because you need to be really accountable in the midfield these days, and I think he's going to be that really, really strong two-way player for us. And I reckon the other one is who gets some pretty harsh critics at times is Darcy Fogarty. I think now we're sort of starting to see him find that consistency in games at the moment. We all know he's a beautiful sorry, that was just the bus that went past.
Was that? I was going to say, I thought you were in the toilet. Sounded like you pulled the chain.
No, I'm out walking the dogs, trying to get active.
Oh,
so,
good on you, mate. Funny dog noise. Sorry.
And Darcy Fogarty as well, who I think it's a tough position to play that as a key forward. And, you know, he's only 21, 22, so it's going to take time. But I think now we're starting to see he's consistently in games longer, which is important. And he's starting to hit the scoreboard. So we know that it should be a focus to get the ball in his hands because we know he's going to kick the goals more times than not.
You played with a champion in Eddie Betts and a young lad that's really made his mark in Charlie Cameron. Do you see a need for one of those really dangerous small forwards with a bit of pace too, Sam? Like, I mean, Betts has done it for 14 years and Charlie can win a game off his own boot at times.
Yeah, I think we've seen, you know, the Indigenous lads especially have made that role their own in recent times. And, you know, obviously those two guys were a key part of, I guess, you know, the teams that I played in when we were able to have successes. They really bounced off each other. And, you know, we've got Lockie Murphy who plays an important role with that defensive side of his game. And Jimmy Rose come in and had his chance this year. But, you know, I think it is a real focus. We want to keep beefing up that forward line and keep being that damaging side that we were a few years ago. As we know that we certainly got the players with Laird, Smith, all these types who can certainly deliver the ball down there. It's important we keep having those small, dangerous forwards as well.
Sam, obviously you get around the players and the whole club and the whole environment. How's the feeling around the locker room when you go down there? I mean, obviously, you know, you'd be well respected for what you've done in the game, but just the general buzz of the place.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been with them probably 3 weeks because I've been in Melbourne, but you know, in like you do sit back and you take a look at what's going on and the vibe of the place, and it's really positive and really strong. And I think there's a real clear understanding that there is a lot of work to do, but we need to have patience with these boys because we're asking a lot of some of them who are playing regular AFL footy. But I think Nick's finding that balance of teaching them, you know, the blueprint and on how he wants to play going forward. That's going to hold up, you know, in finals and in big games going forward because you're not just coaching to win games of footy now. You're coaching for the future as well. And I think they're doing a good job at, you know, really strengthening that culture to make sure all the players are buying in. Yeah,
you carved out a great career in footy. Tell us about the pressure, perceived pressure, whatever, or hidden pressure. Most jobs aren't judged publicly. Obviously, every job has their own pressure valves there, Sam. But what's it like these days? Every aspect is scrutinised. You know, some of these TV shows play the same little play over, you know, 100 times from 100 different angles. Did it really crank up from when you first started to when you finished?
Yeah, it did because I remember I came back from Carlton in 2010, and obviously I was one of 10 teams in Victoria, so it was a bit different coming back to Adelaide. But I remember, like, I'm a footy head, and obviously I've ramped it back up again now. You know, when I first came back from Adelaide, you know, I'd read the advertiser, I'd be watching the footy shows, listen to the talkback shows, and all that, because I just love footy. But over time, it wears you down, not from a point of negativity, but just from it's just so much footy. So I think it's a balancing act with the players now because obviously social media is the thing that stands out. I think if you get caught up, you know, following that too much, it can really play on your mind. And one thing I did was manage what I put on my social media, and you know, I was really, I guess, anal about making sure that I only saw what I wanted to see and that it wasn't going to affect my footy. So I think the biggest challenge for the players today is there's so much footy to watch, is just to find what you enjoy watching as a footy player. Because I think it's still important to be engulfed in footy, but also find that right balance for yourself.
Great to enjoy the chat, Sam. What's bloody called your CEE?
The CEE.
Yeah, we better say goodbye to the CEE.
Yep.
I might have to go on my LinkedIn profile tonight and update that, Blighty, and give you the credit. It does sound very impressive.
Well, you know you like the credit. That's the most thing. Just give him a bit of the credit.
Oh, it's such a humble thing to say, David.
Thanks, Sammy.
I know Blighty's always going to have something different for me. I like the way that he always thinks about things differently.
Do you reckon the great man lacks a bit of confidence, though, Sam, Blighty, in his own skin?
No. Yeah, sometimes you just need to, you know, pump him up a little bit because, you know, you just don't want him feeling down, you know, after the footy career he had and the coaching career he had. So, need to make sure he stays confident.
I remember once saying, when you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, do you like what you see? He said, yeah. He said, I do like what I see. He'd never even hesitated. No hesitation at all.
Don't you like what Sam says? Sam still likes what he sees. Listen, if you don't like what you see in the mirror in the morning, how are you going to get on with the rest of the day?
That's my worst time in the morning. The hair's all over the place. I've got to do this
but that's
up a bit.
okay. But I mean, you can actually look past.
Sam always had short hair. Didn't have to worry about that.
You can look past all the...
And if you don't love yourself, first of all, who else is going to love you?
That's right.
So,
Actually, an old coach. Actually, Sam, you're quite right. I was sitting in a team meeting as a young player years and years ago with the great Ron Barassi, who was coach, and he said to me, everyone here, you are the most important person in the world. I thought he was a big head. But then when he explained what he meant after that, if you don't feel, you're quite right, if you don't feel that about yourself, how can you portray to other people how important they are?
Yep. And self-belief's everything, isn't it? Especially in the competitive atmosphere like footy is or professional sport.
Geez, I love talking to you, CEE.
Well, at least Sam and I both agree. Sam and I agree you don't lack confidence. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks very much, guys. Always good to chat.
That would have been our biggest outro for any interview. I was saying goodbye to Sam 5 minutes ago, then we got back onto you. How did he get back onto you?
No. Who brought that up?
I did.
Oh, did you? Good on you. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, listen, we've probably got nothing else to say now, have we?
Except good night.
Bye,
See you,
David.
buddy.
Sports Day for Kia, the Kia Sorrento, Drive Car of the Year, and Lumo SA, Aussie owned, made for Adelaide.
It's not folklore, it's fact that country footy brings local communities and its people together. Visit countryfootyscores.com.au. Delivered by Red Energy and TAC. Get your country footy fix and all the latest results at countryfootyscores.com.au.